Are you looking for peace of mind at your doorstep? Look no further. With the Blink Video Doorbell, your home's entrance is always within your control. Check out the link in the video description to learn more and get your Blink Video Doorbell on Amazon. Your home is in your hands.
Britain's new Prime Minister is said to have been named after Keir Hardie, Labour's first parliamentary leader. The original Keir, who died in 1915, did not live to see a Labour government, but his namesake has just led his party to an unprecedented election victory. Though his majority falls short of the 179-seat majority won by Tony Blair in 1997, Starmer has inflicted the worst defeat on the Conservatives in that party's long history. The new Labour government will have a strength relative to the principal opposition party not seen since the 1935 election and the National Government Coalition. That might mean, however, that Starmer has more in common with, not Keir Hardie, but a politician of a very different kind. For the Prime Minister with the huge majority in 1935 was the Conservative leader Stanley Baldwin, who personified a good many things that the young left-wing firebrand Keir Starmer grew up detesting. Baldwin's tragedy was that his domestic priorities were overridden by a mounting international crisis and an urgent need for rearmament that he dismissed as too expensive and unpopular. Starmer risks the same fate. The Conservatives, so dominant in 20th-century British politics, have only narrowly escaped the fate of the Liberals between the wars when they ceased to be the second-largest party. If the worst forecasts had been correct, the Tories might have come third after the Lib Dems on Thursday. Fortunately, the voters preserved the Conservatives as the official opposition, albeit with their smallest parliamentary representation since Britain became a democracy in 1832. This is just as well. For we can have no illusions, Labour has no credible plan to revive economic growth in the UK, and the Lib Dems are not much better. The country's only hope as we stumble towards the next bond market panic and/or sterling crisis is that a chastened Tory party will finally get back to its foundational first principles: small government, balanced budgets, low taxes, and sound money, but also well-funded armed services, after a leftward wrong turning that has lasted 1/3 of a century. In the wake of such a rout, the Conservatives must conduct a rigorous postmortem and take a look, not just at recent history, but at events over more than 3 decades. When the Berlin Wall fell on November 9, 1989, we supporters of Margaret Thatcher thought we had won our decades-old argument with the left. Some, such as my friend Francis Fukuyama, an American political scientist, even thought it was the end of history, the irrevocable triumph of liberal democracy and market capitalism. Wrong. And not long after the euphoria of the 1990s, the decade of the peace dividend, when Western nations felt able to reduce their spending on defense, we were slapped in the face by a succession of crises. We thought we were building one world based on globalization and the World Wide Web. Then came the attacks of September 11, 2001, and the global war on terror. This was followed by the world financial crisis of 2008-9, the COVID-19 pandemic and the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Monetary policies of zero interest rates and quantitative easing made a government spending spree possible in response to these shocks. Now, with public debts at much higher levels and interest rates still elevated, comes the reckoning. According to the International Monetary Fund, Britain's public debt relative to gross domestic product has risen by a factor of 3 since 2001, more than for any other member of the group of 7 advanced economies. With interest rates where they are, the cost of servicing that debt is bound to crowd out other spending priorities, including defense. All developed democracies face 3 structural problems. First, aging populations want long and comfortable retirements. But it is hard to satisfy this demand without higher taxes and more immigration, both of which older voters hate. Second, the advance of information technology has not really boosted productivity, but, instead, has put a premium on politics as entertainment. Think Nigel Farage on TikTok. Finally, the resurgent geopolitical threat posed by Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, the new axis of ill will, means that all Western countries need to increase defense budgets at a time when domestic priorities are more politically compelling. A rational policy would seek to stimulate entrepreneurship.